for joining us today for another episode of What's Your Why Wednesday. Today, I am here with the incredible Alexis VanLandingham. She is a mortgage loan originator at Premier Lending Corp. Alexis, thank you so much for joining us today. It is so fabulous to have you. All right, Alexis. So, most of us came into the mortgage industry by accident, but we stay in the mortgage industry because it's tied to our personal and professional why. Now, although you were familiar with the mortgage industry back before you came in, we would love to hear, what is your why?
So thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here, Laura. And speaking of my why, education is my biggest why for staying in the industry, for continuing to do what I do. I feel like there's such a vast amount of information at our fingertips, whether it be, the internet, social media, word of mouth from someone that's closed on a mortgage. And I feel like knowledge is power. And if so many more people were just educated just a little bit more on how easy it can be to obtain, home ownership, then more people would hopefully stop renting and go down that path to achieve that. So I think for me, being able to educate not only my buyers, but my partners, whether it's an insurance agent, a realtor, on why working with, brokers are better, and really educating them on the whole process, and not even just, the nitty gritty of the loan process, just the overall, and being a resource for people. And I think we need more people to be advocates and resources when it comes to people that really aren't educated. We do this every day and it's at our fingertips. So we're familiar with that. And 9 out of 10 people aren't, and they find home ownership to be scary. So I feel like the more we can educate people, the less it becomes, a frightening thing, and it should be a fun thing. So I feel like that's what keeps me driving. The market's forever changing. And with that comes, new knowledge and new products to share. And I just want everyone to know what we're doing.
Wow. I love that. I love that. And, as you were speaking, I kind of had different things running through my brain. And one of the things that came into it was every time I travel to different conferences, right? One of my most favorite things to do is speak to the Uber drivers as I'm going to wherever I'm going, right? And the minute that they hear that I'm in the mortgage business, they start asking all these questions like, is it a good time to buy? What's happening with the interest rates? Are there homes available? Or what about refinancing? I have this rate, I have that. And I always think kind of exactly what you just said. How many people have these questions, want to know, is it a good time to buy? Or am I able to do this? Or should I refinance? Or what is a cash out? Or I'm a veteran, what's available to me? Right. And so many times people don't, because it's scary.
Right.
Because also it's very personal. We know opening up our finances, how much we make, what's in the bank, what do we spend our money on? How was, what kind of decisions did I make financially when I graduated college, or when I, changed jobs and I took a step backwards? It's very personal. And what you just said about the education and about connecting and guiding and showing people that being a homeowner and changing, building generational wealth, that is life-changing. But it starts with us on the mortgage side. So, Alexis, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And that leads me right into that next question. So, I know you probably have tons of amazing stories and special ones that are near and dear to your heart. But I'd love for you to share that one that really hits you in the heart and really just makes you realize the impact that you have as a mortgage professional. Please share.
So that was really hard for me, Laura, because I did think of all these aha moments, and going back, realizing, and kind of like, pat yourself. I'm like, wow, we really do change lives and help people. And that what keeps, for me, the job fun and going and engaged, because everybody's different. Everybody has a unique situation, right? But this one client of mine sticks out to me, and I will forever remember her. She sends me a Christmas card every year. We text, we keep in touch. She was an elderly woman, grandmother, who was living in Kentucky, needed to move down here. She had just lost her daughter. She was alone. She was coming down here to retire, had some friends, was working with a direct lender at the time, purchasing a condo. There was a little mishap. She had already sold her house up there.
Oh boy.
Her business, closed everything down, was fully retired. She had everything on a U-Haul moving truck to drive down here to South Florida. And she was a week out from closing. Realtor of mine called me in a panic. Obviously, thank God we're the broker, was able to switch that, transfer appraisal over, get everything situated. Condo was already approved with one of our lenders, closed her on time within the week. This woman called me crying and in tears. And just knowing that she didn't have to have that stress, and that I was able to do that. And we have some really personal conversations with these clients, right? Things that the average person isn't going to know. And we really do dig deep. And then when you make those connections with them, and you really do become vested, and I'm very vested in my clients, maybe to a fault. But knowing that she was able to come down, and it was literally the week before Christmas. This was last year. I'll never forget it. And we spoke afterwards, and she was like, you literally changed my life. You know, I felt so hopeless and so alone, and I don't have my daughter and my support system and someone to advocate for me. And she goes, and I really took a leap of faith, and I trusted you, and you really cared about me. And I think that's a huge misconception with brokers too, and in real estate in general. Everyone's in it for the dollar, right? And no, like we're really out there changing people's lives. And have this woman gone to another bank or done something, I mean, who knows when she would have closed, or if she would have closed, or if she would have had to rent something, or whatever the situation, you know. And she was on a tight budget. She had just retired. So we wanted to be sensitive with how we, you know, played that, and make sure that she was in that better financial situation and was able to come down with peace of mind. And just like, I can hear her little voice telling me thank you. And like, she sends me cute texts, and she was like, if I could jump through the phone and hug you, I would, because it was out of state. She ended up signing papers up there before she came down, so we never got to officially meet. But she sends me birthday cards and all that stuff, and we just have this cute little connection. And I'll never forget something like that. Had that been somebody else on the other end, I'm like, where would she have ended up? So I was happy to see that.
That's one of those situations where you realize, if that was your mom, or if that was your grandmother, or that was right, wouldn't you
or me
only hope, right, or yourself?
Right.
I mean, wouldn't you only hope that there would be someone like you on the other end of that, to be able to kind of hold your hand and walk you through? Because just what we just said, your whole life is handed over, right, for all to see.
Right.
You are, you know, I think of it, talk about being vulnerable. Right? You are vulnerable, that every single thing that you've done from top to bottom in your life is out there on this application, ready for all to see and all to review and all to accept and say, yay, or say, no, 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 no. Look at this mistake. You closed your business and you were here, or this happened, or you didn't file this properly. And no one ever intends on maybe, you know, changing jobs right before, or, you know, like, a lot of that comes from education. A lot of that comes from guiding people through and taking that time. To your point, this is not about, yes, we're all doing this because this is our business, but why we continue to do it is because of stories like that.
Absolutely.
And that's beautiful. Great job. I love that. I love that. Keep that going.
Me too. That was a good one.
All right. So I want to go back a step, right? Because you were telling me before we hit record that you learned of the mortgage industry because a friend of yours, her parents were in the mortgage business, and that wasn't necessarily directly why you came in. But I'd love to hear two things. One, tell me your story of how you became a mortgage broker. And two, I'd love to know, if you were now speaking to your younger self or someone else that was just starting out, what advice would you give that person for them to be successful?
Absolutely. So yes, I got introduced to the world of mortgages through my two childhood best friends. Their parents own their own mortgage company. And I remember being a little kid at dinner and hearing her mom talk on the phone and do all these things. And then you kind of get a little older and you're like, what's a mortgage? How do you buy a house? And then everything kind of like makes sense, right? And I really just gravitated to the whole running your own book of business, helping people, having the flexibility to do that. And at the end of the day, I mean, this is a sales driven job. But when you're able to tailor it and make it your own and kind of put your own spin on it, I think that's where people become passionate about it, because this is not a 9-to-5 desk job, right? We're out, we're networking, we're doing different things. And I really gravitated towards that. Corporate world just wasn't for me. I don't want to be told when to, take lunch and what I have to do. And mortgages allows for that freedom to really, I mean, if you want to work a 40-hour day, if you could, you probably would. So yeah, that's how I got my feet wet with it. And I'm happy that, and when I first dove in, I did give up the first year. And I think that that's important for people, especially newer people during COVID, coming into the business, thinking that it's just a giant pool of money that we're all swimming in, and it's not. This job is hard work, it's dedication. And my biggest piece of advice that I wish someone would have told me, consistency is key. You're not going to be where you think you're going to be that first year in that first week, maybe not even that first year. Keep posting on social media, keep going to these networking events, keep getting your name out in front of these realtors, because I promise you at one moment in time, they will need you and they will reach out. And it takes one shot and one opportunity to be in front of someone to let them trust you. And then, repeat referral, give you that kind of business. So for me, consistency, and don't chase money. Money will come. If you are a good person and you do good work and you're humble, money will come. The referrals will come in. Just do right by people and everything else will fall through. And I think a lot of people get excited with the glitz and the glamour because we have unlimited potential with what we do. And the sky's the limit with what we can make. And that's the beauty of our industry. But being humble and knowing who you're serving and what your clientele is, I think a lot of the younger people coming in should, keep in check with that. Just do right by your clients and be a good person, and everything else will fall into place for sure.
You very, very wise words there, Alexis. Number one, consistency is the key. And I'm going to add a little caveat on top of what you just said. So I want everyone to realize something about the key of consistency. Number one, people are always watching, always. Whether it's your referral partners or potential referral partners, whether it's your current clients, past clients, or future clients, whether it's your children or your family, people are always watching. And what they're watching for, one of the things is consistency. If you consistently do certain things, you're giving off the message that you can be trusted, that you're a good person, that you know what you're doing, right? You're educated and you're an expert. See, when you start things and stop things, or you come out one way saying I'm this, but then the next week you're this, and you've changed who you are, that's confusing.
Right.
And that gives people a message of you don't have it all together. So what you just said, sometimes you're going to be in the planting season. That's where we are right now. Right now, we're planting. And maybe those crops aren't going to grow right now. But guess what? The crops are going to grow. Maybe it's not a month from now. Maybe instead it's 6 months from now.
Right.
It's okay if you stick with it and you keep spreading that love and that light and that everything, nurturing those seeds, they are going to grow. And to your point with that, don't give up.
Right.
Because if you are in it for the right reasons, the money will come. If you stick with it, keep spreading that light and that joy and that education and doing it with a good heart, I promise you'll have a very long and fruitful career within our industry. But if you come in with only one game in mind, it's going to be a short-lived career.
Absolutely.
So Alexis, great advice. And thank you so much for sharing. You are wise beyond your years. I love it, love it, love it.
Thank you.
Keep shining brightly, my friend, and keep taking care of all of those families.
Thank you for having me, Laura. I really appreciate it. And I hope anyone who listens to this just takes a little bit of that advice, because if I would have known that, it would have been a game changer. So yes, consistency is key. And thank you again for having me.
Take care.